Okay, hello everybody. Looks like we've got the live stream ready to go, so we're ready to rock and roll. I'm Kyle Tarver with the Walla Walla Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us for another session in the Virtual Business Summit. I know that it's Friday, but this is actually the first session of our third week, which is on personal and leadership development. So if you missed any of our previous sessions on workforce or growing your business, please check our Facebook page where you can find those. But we're going to get a little more personal for our final three sessions. We're talking about you as an individual, your growth, and developing your own leadership style. So we're very happy today to be bringing you this content free of charge, and that is thanks to our sponsors. We have the City of Walla Walla, the Port of Walla Walla, the City of College Place, and the Blue Zones Project for the Walla Walla Valley. Thanks to them, we're able to present this content for you. Again, if you need to go back and rewatch this video or any of our other videos, they're on our Facebook page. And then I also want to remind you that as we're going through today's content, if you have any questions and you are here on Zoom, please ask those using the Q&A feature. And if you are watching on Facebook Live, please post those questions in the comments, and we will make sure that those get to our presenters. So we have a couple of great speakers for you today. A lot of you may recognize Doug Simcock, local realtor with Windermere. He is very active in the community, and in fact has been the president of the chamber board in the past and served on our board of directors. Thank you, Doug, for being here.
You're welcome. Good to be here, everybody.
And then a colleague of Doug's, Michael Flanning, who I've heard speak a couple of times at Windermere's real estate kickoff when they do an event early in the year to talk about the state of real estate in our area. Michael's a great speaker. We're really glad to have him here as well. Hey, Michael, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really, really well, Kyle. Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So just that reminder again, if you have a question, please put that in the chat, or if you're on Facebook, post that in the comments. And we're ready to get started. Michael, please.
All right. Perfect. Well, hey, everyone. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Our goal today is to have you be really introspective on yourself and think about where you want to go and what you want to do. A little bit about myself and why I'm here talking with you. I've been in the real estate business for about 26 years, but my main job is to help motivate people to have great work-life balance. And so we run a coaching program. We've coached and helped quite a few agents. And we run a 4-day program called Ninja Installation, which we've taught probably over 6,000 agents by now. But we really help people not just have great business, but also have a great life. And a lot of it boils down to some of the key things we're going to talk about today for high performance. And so a lot of the stuff you're going to see that we're going to talk about is the things that we're recommending that maybe you should try, but we don't do. Everything that I'm going to walk you through and that Doug's going to talk about today, these are things that we do so we can actually tell you we know they have results. We know they have positive impact, not just on us, but the people that surround us and the people that we're with. And so we're going to kind of take you through that. And then Doug, I'll let you kind of tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, yeah, for those of you jumping on a Friday afternoon, thank you for your commitment. For the rest of you watching this at your convenience, the recorded version, thank you as well for taking some time. I'm sure I know many of you watching this. We've been in the Walla Walla Valley for a long time. I'm the designated broker owner of Windermere Real Estate, and it's been great. You've probably, if you've been in Walla for a while, you know my family. We started as a family business, and my mom and I bought Windermere in 1999. And so during the last 22 years, learned a lot, had to learn a lot about leadership and growth so that I could help my agents do the same. And as Michael said, my passion has really been coaching and helping people, go in the directions they want to go. And so we do get to teach a lot. So it's fun to bring you some of the content together today. It's things that have been helpful in my personal life and the people that I work with. And so, yeah, just excited to be here, and let's get started.
All right. So we're going to cover today, when we think about the key factors, I'm going to kind of lay these out for you, and then we're going to dive into each one in a little bit more detail. So we're going to start off with mindset. Mindset is the starting point for pretty much everything. And all of us have this different perceptual maps. We're going to talk about that. The other one is, how do you start your day? Are you showing up in a world where you're proactive, or are you showing up in a world where you're reactive? It has a big impact on how you show up and the energy you carry with yourself through that day. The other one is words that you use daily. The most powerful thing we have is our ability to communicate, and we communicate by using words. And words have different understanding, if you will. People understand differently based on the words we use. We want to talk about that. The other one is direction of your focus. A lot of times people think I don't have enough time. Time isn't the issue. It's your focus and the execution of how you're achieving activities throughout the course of the day. And then focus on how, not what. A lot of us are focused on outcome as opposed to activity. So we want to talk about that. What are your consistent habits? We all have habits, and habits can be good, habits can be bad. And what are we choosing to do consistently? And then the last but not least, I'm going to share with you a video from a gentleman named Trevor Mowat. It's called "What Are You Willing Not to Say?" And many times it's not what we're willing to do. It's more about what we're willing not to do. And so we're going to run through these in some detail. So I want to kick off with the first one is to help you understand some science. I'm a big believer in, biology and how our brains work. And so understanding how your brain works, and I'm going to ask you a simple question. On any given day when you wake up, do you think the world is a friendly place or a hostile place? Is it a friendly environment or is it a hostile environment? Because you create your own reality. And this gentleman's name is David Bayer. David Bayer has a great website. Follow him on Facebook. I want you to listen to what he says about this question that was asked of Einstein. Is the world a friendly place? And listen to what he says about this. We'll cue this video up for you. Here you go.
Einstein was absolutely right when he said that the most important decision you can make is whether you live in a friendly or hostile universe. And the reason he was right, even though he may not have understood it at the time, is because of the way the technology of the human being operates, more specifically, the brain. Because the brain creates a reality based on your decisions. Moment by moment by moment, we're making decisions about how we believe life works for us. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily true, but it's what we believe, right? We might believe that money's hard to make. We might believe that we can't trust people. We might believe that all the good ones are taken. It may or may not be true, but what's so unbelievable is that decision that we've made about life or about money or about relationships or about people perpetuates itself into reality because of the way the technology of the brain works. The moment we've made a decision about how life is going to work for us, at an unconscious level, we create an image of it. We literally create the memory of something that hasn't happened yet. And the brain organizes itself around that decision. If we could watch your brain, we would actually see that as you make decisions, you build new neurosynaptic connections that represent the decision or the belief that you've made. You have to stop for a moment and ask yourself, how do you want your life to be? Do you want life to be working for you? Because if you do, then the decision you make is that the universe is friendly. Do you want to live a challenging, difficult, challenge-ridden life? And if the answer is yes, then you simply make a decision that life is not working for you. So what I would encourage you to do is not just take what I'm saying as philosophy, but apply it to your life. Take a look at your life right now. Do you experience life on a moment-by-moment basis, believing that everything that's happening, whether you can truly understand it at the moment or not, is for your greatest good, your greatest growth, your greatest prosperity? Or are you someone who's always focusing on what the problems are, how things are not going the way that you expect it to, how you don't have the luck, but other people have all the luck? Because neither one of those beliefs may be true, that life is working for you or that life is working against you, but because of the way your human being operating system works, that will become your reality. Moment by moment, you'll only be thinking thoughts in alignment with the decision that you've made. Your perception of reality will literally become altered based on the decisions that you've made. And at the quantum level, what you co-create in this reality will be based upon the decisions that you made. So what decision have you made? Do you live in a hostile or a friendly universe?
So I want you to think about that for a second, because if you really think about our beliefs are learned. And this is Robin Sharma. Both Doug and I work with the Titan Academy for us in terms of personal coaching. But I want you to think about a few things that he brings up. So if we're thinking about mindset, about how you're showing up and how you're viewing your day on any given day, any given week or month, at birth, our brains are a clean slate, and we are all of us are wired for success. All of us have genes or RNA or DNA that allow us to manifest success. The question is, what have you been taught? And our biggest obstacle of success is fear. And what's really interesting is that we're only born with two fears. So when you're born, your brain really only has two fears. It's the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. Now, how do all those other fears get into your mind? How do all those other things start happening? Well, as we age, life happens to us. Our surroundings, our environment, our education, our the parenting that we got, the people we chose to hang out with, right? Our reference groups, if you will, and we get programmed. And as that program happens, some of us start to learn fears. And our brains move from what I call growth to fix. In fact, I'd have a conversation with someone the other day. A good friend of mine said, I got to tell you, you're getting old and you're getting a really fixed mindset. He said, what do you mean? I said, if I sat my daughter next to you right now and the two of you have different understandings, what you're afraid of today is something that she's not afraid of at all. And I said, and sometimes we have to really dig deep and ask ourselves, is the mindset that I have today, is it benefiting me? And our experiences create these neural pathways that determine your perceptual map. And what I mean by that is you don't see with your eyes, you see with your mind. And all of you can look out. I have somebody that I work with, and Doug and I were going to go teach an installation, a class in Chicago. And this person said to me, why on earth would you ever go to Chicago? It is such a dangerous place. And I said, well, gosh, I've been there 3 or 4 times. I've never experienced that. I don't know what you're talking about. You see the different perceptual maps, and those perceptual maps are different based on my consumption and my experiences. So the question I would ask all of you is, as you move through life and you look at your world in front of you, is the world a friendly or a hostile environment? Because if you think about this, I love this photo. This photo really depicts what I'm talking about. Is that your mind really determines how you see your life and how you see your opportunities. So how you see the world depends on how you look. So how do you build a mindset daily that allows you to see opportunity around you rather than challenges? And I will tell you, challenges, in my mind, the way I choose to look at them and the way we choose to coach people to look at a challenge, a problem is a phenomenal opportunity. You know why? It allows you to provide a solution, right? Whenever there's a challenge, it allows you to provide a solution. That's number one. Number two, it also teaches you something. You know what the best teacher in the world is? The highest, the richest stream of data of anything is failure. Because when we fail, it allows us to learn. So it's how you choose to see the obstacles in front of you, and it all starts with a mindset. So when we think about this, right, when we boil this down, we think about winning the day. And here's what we know. Success is not an accident. Success is a choice, and it's a choice of what we call consistent execution. You know, if you look at anybody who's had phenomenal success in their life, it wasn't that it was easy or that they had natural talent, right? What happened was is they tried and they failed, and they tried and they failed, and they didn't give up, and they identified what activities they needed to execute consistently every single day. And what happened was is when you look at people who have success, they're highly successful because they failed more than the next person. You know, you think about Michael Jordan, you think about Stephen Curry, you think about a lot of people in this world. Look at Oprah Winfrey, you look at Steve Jobs, you look at a lot of people and you look at their lives, and what they did is they just had consistent execution. They tried and they failed, they tried and they failed, they tried and they failed, and then they had success. Doug, anything you want to add to that? Because I know that it's a big piece that we talk about.
Well, no, but it sets up, you know, we talk about consistent execution and winning the day, which really sets up what we're going to talk about, the best thing you can do to win your days. And, you know, how we start each day is so important. They say the way our brains work, that we create a residue that we carry with us throughout the day. So we can start our day, if we started in positivity and gratitudes, there's a certain residue we're gonna carry through our day, right? As opposed to starting the day out watching the news. I don't have to ask you, is the news negative or positive? Well, we need to know what's going on, of course, but that may not be the best way to start the day. And one thing I realized when I looked at leaders that I really admired, they had one thing in common. They had a morning routine. And so what I want to do is talk a little bit about that. Now I know by default or by being intentional, we all have a morning routine, right? And for a long time, I told myself that I was not a morning person. So if people started talking about morning, I'd say, yeah, right, that doesn't work. But as I started learning about being more effective in my life and showing up as a better leader And hearing all of my mentors encouraging this, I finally got to the point and I said, what if I was the kind of guy who did get up and if I was the kind of guy who ran a morning routine, would it make a difference? And I can tell you it's the single most valuable thing I've ever done. And so there's a book and a resource for you. It's called the 5 a.m. Club. Now there's a lot of different books you can get on this, on morning routines. This is one that we're talking about right now, and it just talks about getting up and running a routine. So let's tell you a little bit about the 5 a.m. Club, okay? And so this is just an example. Now, I know, again, many of you have a way that you get up, you have a morning routine. So what I want to ask you is this: as we go through the next few slides, think about, is there something you could add to what you're doing now that could leverage your day for a bigger win, that could position you with in a better mindset to deal with what's going to come in the day before you? Is there a way to battle-proof yourself for the challenges you're going to face later, and to connect with that best part of you, right? And so one of the things in the book that he talks about was having a morning routine, and he talks about having a 20-20-20 formula, 3 20-minute pockets. And so, so this is what the first one you see there, the screen says move, right? The second one is going to be reflect and then grow. And so what allows you to do when you have time alone in the quiet each day, it allows you to ask this question, and I love this one: how would the person I want to be do the things I'm about to do today, right? It helps you align and connect with that part of yourself and that best part of yourself and how you want to show up during the day. But let's look at those components again. So, what we're saying is get up before everybody else. Winning your morning is a game changer. Most people aren't up early, right? It's pretty cool to be up doing things when the rest of the world is still sleeping, right? And you're preparing for the day. Most people hit the snooze button. Most people give headspace to others when they start their mornings. And so it's important to be on your agenda, doing the things you know that are going to arm you for the day. So if you get up and you watch the news, you look at your email, looking at email, whose agenda are you on? It's somebody else, right? And so how cool would it be to start your day focused on connecting with yourself and preparing yourself for what's to come. And so again, morning routines vary. There's 3 components that we think are really important. The first one is movement. So the idea is to do what helps you improve and get better. I heard a doctor talk about, if you want to get in shape, do something that makes you sweat 20 minutes every day. He said, if you do that every day, day in, day out, he said, I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but one day you'll wake up and you'll be fit, right? But when we sweat, right, it does all kinds of great pharmaceuticals are released into your brain. There's dopamine and all kinds of things that happen. And so maybe some of you can relate to this. On the days that you work out in the morning, many people will share I'm more on task and on point through the rest of the day. I'm more likely to do the things that I know are important to me versus if I get up and I decide not to, right? And so one of the great ways to arm yourself is to move. Okay, so do something that moves your body and gets ready for the day. Then the next one, then, and this is the second 20-minute pocket that Robin Sharma talked about, is reflection. That's what you do here is grab a journal. Now this could be a blank journal with blank pages, or you could do something more structured like the 5-minute journal. If you search 5-minute journal, there's a lot of places you can get that. There's a website there, intelligencechange.com. You can find that journal there, right, Mike?
Yep, that's a website.
And it's a guided way where you really can just take a few minutes. But what goes in the journal? Writing out gratitudes. My brain can't be in gratitude and negativity at the same time. And we have so many challenges. Our brains are negatively biased. So unless I practice deliberate gratitude, my brain is going to be focused mostly on the challenges, the stresses, and all those things. And yes, those things all need to be dealt with, absolutely. But how about reminding yourself that at any given point in time, there's more going right in your life than wrong? And so if each day, part of your practice is to journal things that you're grateful for. And it could be just looking around and say, I'm grateful for the coffee cup in my hand. I'm grateful for this beautiful place that I sit. I'm grateful for the view out the window. You know, and now as we're getting things are turning green, right? I'm grateful for the spring that I see happening around me. And so gratitude, writing out affirmations, positive statements about what you know you're capable of, what you want to accomplish. All those things allow you to start the day in a different place, right? And preparing yourself to really go and execute. And so, a lot of times what this means, find that spot in your house that you like to go. Some of you that know me and have come to visit, I live in the View 22. My rooftop deck is my spot. And so you'll find me there with coffee, my journal, and my pen. And that's my pocket where I love to do the reflection, right? And so that's the second component of that 20-20-20. The third one is taking 20 minutes to just learn and grow before I get on my way into my day. And that could be a variety of things. It could be listening to a book on Audible, listening to a favorite podcast or a TED Talk. It could be watching a video series. Michael mentioned Robin Sharma. One of the things that I enjoy is a video series by Robin Sharma, kind of a mentoring coaching program. It could be reading a really great book, just a few pages, right? Every day, and before you know it, you've read that book that you always wanted to. And so one of the things that to have you think about is there anything that we talked about today that if you put it into your morning routine, it could help you show up in a more powerful way as you go through your day. And what we found is, and for some of you, if you say, man, an hour, that's a lot. One of the things that we do say, if right now your morning routine, if you don't really have one, you can't see yourself creating an hour to have a morning routine before you start your day. Try that 20-minute pocket that we talked about, the reflect. A lot of people start there where they read, they write in a journal, write out gratitudes, use their 5-minute journal, and then they go into their day. But whatever your morning routine looks for you, see if there's something we just shared that you could put in there. And then pay attention to, does it change how your day goes? What we find is that a morning routine is a keystone habit, meaning that on the days you run a morning routine, you're more likely to do all the other positive habits you want to do. You do a morning routine, you may find yourself making better choices of what you eat during the day. You run a morning routine, you may find yourself making better choices about a whole variety of things that you would do on your that would keep you moving in the direction of your goals. So that's the 20-20-20. And if you see yourself maybe committing to this, a little bit about forming a habit. And I know whenever you've read about habits, you probably hear a lot of things, but it takes 20 days, it takes 30 days. One of the things that we found is if you will do something for 60 days, you can really form a solid habit. And so what we find is all change is, it's hard at first, it's messy in the middle, but it's beautiful in the end. And so you can see the idea is if you start doing something new. So I can tell you when I started waking up at 5 a.m., that was new for me. I was not a morning person. That's what I told myself. So it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so one of the things that Michael and I will say is, how do you become a morning person? I found this, you start getting up. And so when I started getting up at 5 a.m., I can tell you that it was very hard. It was super hard at first. And that's the deconstruction phase, right? So those first 20 days, I'm deconstructing the way I used to do it and putting something new in place. Then you move to the next 20 days, which is all about, it's that messy part. It can feel confusing. And if you've ever been through a remodel of your home and you're in the middle of everything being torn up and you're trying to live there at the same time, you can relate to what this feels like. It's like, why am I doing this anyways? Is it really making a difference, right? But if you stay the course in that last 20 days, you'll move to what we call integration. And you can move through that course of 60 days to automaticity, meaning that that thing that you wanted to start doing, to form the habit in, it'll become easier to do it than not do it. And so one of the things that's fun now is Michael and I, we do get to be together, we teach a lot together. So we'll get up at 5 a.m. We hold each other accountable to that. But one thing that's really fun is you know, it's become easier for me to get up and do that now than to not do it. Sometimes we'll even text each other and say, "Hey, Michael, you up?" He's like, "Good morning, Doug." But whatever that habit is, know that if you'll stick with it, you move through those progressions and that thing you want to do in your life. And I love it. Most people quit before the magic happens, right? They quit during the destruction or the confusion stage. But if you'll hang with it, that thing will move to automaticity. It'll become something that's ingrained. And a morning routine is a great one that we suggest you stick with.
Perfect.
And, we have a question online from Jenny, who's asking about the order of the 2020. So do you actually have to do them in the exact order of move, reflect, and grow?
You do not have to do them in that order. Now, Robin Sharma, if you read his book, he suggests that by getting up and moving your body first, that it just wakes things up. It just kind of kicks you alive. Now, I relate to this because one of the ways that helped me be consistent is I bought a Peloton. So when I wake up, I can stumble down the stairs, pick a routine with the music that I really love, and I kind of wake up riding my bike, right? And so that prepares me for the other pockets. But you know, here's the thing: do what works for you. This is not set in stone, but play with it and say, hey, what could I bring into my morning that would prepare me to face the challenges of the day in a better way, that could put me in more positive energy, that could you know, help my mindset. Something, and you'll notice when you do this, something for your mind, your soul, your body. And if you start doing that on a consistent basis, it can really become a powerful part of your life.
And I'll add to that real quickly is that I found that the reason why I started doing the move in the morning, because it just, your brain, if you think about it, when you wake up in the morning, you are in a foggy state because your brain's been cleaning itself overnight, right? We don't have limbic system in our brain. So cerebral fluid fills your brain when you go into deep sleep. And we're always in that foggy state. I'm not in a position really to truly reflect well or to learn well until I clear that. And one of the best ways of clearing that is a 20-minute, just quick exercise, whether it's walking my dog, going for a quick run, doing some jumping jacks. That 20-minute pocket I found for myself really enhances the other 20-minute pockets because I have more clarity. And the one thing that I just want to point out to everybody is, you know, we have energy quadrants. And, you know, in order to be at high positive, which is the performance quadrant, we can only get there from low positive. And having a really tight morning routine gets your brain into a low positive state. And this isn't Pollyanna, by the way. I'm not saying bad things aren't going to happen. But we have ups and downs in our lives. And what I find is people that are in a low positive state, they are equipped to deal with that adversity in a much better space than people that are in that reactionary negative space, which unfortunately, that's how a lot of people start their day, is they're letting somebody else control their mind right out of the gate. And so we're just saying, hey, try this, give it a shot, see how it works. Read the book. It's a great resource. All right. Okay, Doug, thanks for that. Let's talk about words for a second. And this is just a simple little thing I want to throw out there. And I want you to really be aware of the words you use when you communicate and you talk. And so I'm giving you some examples here. There's a gentleman, I can't spell his name, and I apologize, Kyle. His name is Majid Magirabon. He's on Majid Magirabon. He's on Instagram, but he has these all the time, and I love them. So how many of you say unfortunately? Oh, unfortunately, that can't happen. Unfortunately, this can't happen. This comes right from Apple. If you go into Apple, you will not hear them say unfortunately. Guess what they'll say to you? As it turns out. I cracked my screen. They won't say, well, that's unfortunate. They say, you know what? As it turns out, you're due for an upgrade. They're always pointing out the positive. The other one is just. I just have one more thing to say. I just can't wait for that. Take just out of what you say, because just is not something that's actually going to happen. Remove the word just. I want to talk to you. I need to have one more word with you. Don't say just. The next one, when is a good time for you? Guess who now, when I say that, I'm now going to run on your schedule. We coach this a lot. A lot of people say, I just don't have enough time. Well, how are you offering up your services? Well, when's a good time for you? Versus, how about this? Why don't you say this? Does this time work for you? I've got these two open time frames. Which one of those would work for you? I'm still offering choice, but I'm running it on my schedule, not yours. How about this one? I don't know. Why don't you say this? I do know this. I do know this, as opposed to I don't know. The next one is I hope. Hope is not absolute. Trust is absolute. So, for example, I'll give you a simple one. I see people and they say, I say, happy birthday. They go, well, thank you for that. Instead of saying, I hope you have a good day, I say, I trust you'll have a good day. I trust I'll see you tomorrow. Think about how you use your words. What about this? Hopefully. Instead of hopefully we get to see each other, take that away and say, when I see you. When I see you next. That's, actually happening. The other one is I can't. Instead say, here is what I can do. Right? Here is what I can do for you instead of I can't. I can't do this, but here's what I can do for you. But take out the word I can't. In other words, you're wrong. Folks, nobody likes to hear you're wrong. Instead, you're right and I'm sorry. And then it leads to the next one. If you don't agree with what they're saying and you think they're wrong, don't say you're wrong. Say you're right, I'm sorry. What do you see that I don't see? What do you see that I don't see? You notice how all of these are taking my ego and myself out of this conversation. And the last one is I know. And for those, anybody have young kids? You say, oh, I know. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. How about this? You're right. You're right. Instead of saying I know, say you're right. Validate somebody with your words. So just be really aware of the words you choose to use as you're communicating with people. And there's a lot of great books out there. I love it. A book called The Catalyst. And I know Kyle, we're throwing another book at you here, but it's called The Catalyst by Jonah Berger. But he talks about how we communicate is so important. And a lot of the stuff comes out of there as well. All right, so let's think about this. So going back to our mindset, going back to our environment, what you focus on expands. It's called your reticular activator. If I took all of you today and put you on a bus and we're driving down the freeway and I said, don't look at red cars, guess what? All of you would see immediately, everywhere. You just see red cars because your reticular activator doesn't hear the word don't. It just says, oh, red cars. And immediately can change like that. I could in a second say, don't look at white cars. You wouldn't see red cars anymore, but you'd see white cars. So your beliefs work exactly the same way. Your beliefs are more powerful than you think. They control the filter in your brain. We don't see with our eyes, we see with our minds. I talked about that earlier. And when you have limiting beliefs, when you say things like I can't, or I'm not that type of person, or I'm not a morning person, or it's always hard for me to wake up early, or I've never been really good at technology, relationships don't seem to work with me, I'm not a good manager of money. Guess what you're doing? All of those are limiting beliefs, and they're building a filter in your brain to manifest more of what you don't want. And here's the problem. When you live in that world, opportunity may pass in front of you and you never see it. That belief also programs your RAS to make sure it only shows you what you believe, true or not. And we call that, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, confirmation bias. And social media feeds off of our confirmation bias. Things that you search for, it's just going to feed you more of that. And then you build a world around it. So let me demonstrate this with a quick video. This is what you focus on expands. And I want you to hear what they ask you to do. And by asking you to do something, you're going to focus on it. But notice what you might miss. Here we go.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 30. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
It's easy to miss something you're not looking for. And we do this all the time in our classes, and it's always interesting to hear people kind of laugh. But those white passes represent maybe some of your limiting beliefs, maybe a perceptual map that's not benefiting you right now, maybe some distractions that you have going on in your life where you're not seeing the opportunity. And so the way we get clear is to have focus. And so when you think about it, right, the challenge is simply this. We all want change, but few succeed long term. So what percentage of people successfully create sustainable change, like Doug talked about with going the full 66 days and implementing habits? There was a study done, only 8% of people are able to have sustainable, successful change. We all want to be healthier. By February, gyms are less crowded. How many people make a New Year's resolution? Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in shape. And all by March, guess what? We're back to our old habits. We all want to eat healthier. How many subscriptions to eating programs have you paid for but never followed through with them? How many of you have exercise equipment at your house that now is where you put your clothes, right? And you haven't touched that, it's got dust on it. How many personal growth seminars have you attended only not to implement what you learned long term? Doug and I teach a 4-day installation, and we know this, 20% of the people 30 days later are still running the habits and the strategies that we taught them. And one of the things comes down to it, we tell ourselves a story, and I hear this a lot, and this comes up in coaching. We live in a world today where we have instant gratification and we feel overwhelmed. In fact, I saw a study that said the other day that the amount of information that needs to be exposed to in a year is now exposed to us in a 24-hour period because of social media. And think about this, you are on demand 24/7 because of your text and your email, and the most important thing you carry with you every single day. Anybody know what that is? It's the most important thing we own. It goes with us everywhere, right into the restroom with us. It sits next to us at night on the bed, right? We look at it when we're feeling alone. We look at it when somebody gets up from the table to leave us and we don't know what to do, and it's called your phone. And so it takes up a lot of our time. And so I want to show you this video. Again, this is going back to David Baer. Many people say, I don't have enough time to do the things you're talking about. I would love to do a morning routine. I just don't have time. I would love to get better at my focus, but I just don't have time. But that's not it at all. It's something very different. So if you feel like there's not enough time, I want you to listen to what he says about this, because it really comes down to our mindset and what we choose to focus on. I want you to hear what he has to say about this. Here we go.
The biggest killer of dreams in the world today is not enough time. I mean, this idea that there's not enough time immediately cuts off any type of creativity, any type of resource, any type of idea that you might have in terms of how you could get something done. And the challenge is that most people have the capacity to compress time in extraordinary ways. Human beings are an amazing species that can hack time. People often ask me, how have you been able to accomplish so much over such a short period of time? And the answer seems to surprise me. It's not that I'm doing more or I'm working harder. And that's really the messaging in the marketplace right now, isn't it? The media tells you all you need to do is hustle. All you need to do is be a high performer. Well, I think all of that's wrong. I believe that all you need to do is, number one, have absolute clarity. And number two, live in a beautiful state of being. I mean, how can you actually expect to accomplish anything if you're not clear on what you want to accomplish? If you're not clear on exactly what your relationship needs to look like? If you're not clear on exactly how much money you want to make in your business? If you're not clear on the type of dynamic you want to have with your children, how can you possibly create it? And so what we find is that people are out there trying to create things that they have absolutely no clarity about. And then while they're doing it, because they have no clarity, they're living in the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the not good enough. The other people have it, but I don't have it, or I don't know how to create it. And so the key to actually hacking time is not to do more, it's to have clarity, and to actually enjoy the journey of creating whatever it is that you want to create. I mean, the journey is what it's all about, isn't it? That's where you experience the growth. That's where you experience the challenges. That's where you experience the unexpected. And so oftentimes we allow that unexpected to create stress, to create anxiety, to create overwhelm. And so we get caught up in this unproductivity. The truth of the matter is, it's the unproductivity that kills us. Not that there's not enough time. It's the 2 to 3, 4 hours a day, the 1,300, 1,500, 1,800 hours a year that we spend in suffering that is causing us to experience that there's not enough time. So it's not so much about not enough time. What matters is only two things. What matters is only the clarity that you have, and not what you're doing, but the way you're being.
So that kind of if you think about it, it wraps up what we talked about earlier. Is one is what's your state of mind and what being are you on any given day and how do you see the world? And number two is what's your clarity? So think about that morning routine that Doug talked about when we have that reflection time, we have that journaling. Does that give us clarity? You know, how many of you are looking at your life list daily? How many of you are looking at the things you want to accomplish this year and setting goals and saying, am I getting to that point and doing what I need to be doing? And so going back to it, just a critical piece of starting your day with a high five, the power of a high five. This is by the book Mel Robbins, of High Five Habit. But you can focus on the chaos and the scarcity, was what David Bayer was just talking about, that can make you feel like you don't have enough time, like you're running around or you're just in a loop, right? If you ever watch Groundhog Day, kind of that type of scenario. Or you can love yourself and give yourself permission to grow and take on the day. You know, there was a study of the NBA. All they did is they looked at these NBA teams, and there were people that would just have a notepad. They were just making checks early on in their season. How many of them were doing chest bumps and high fives, you know, and bottom taps, if you will, encouragement, that type of thing. And then they just made checks. And guess what they found out? The teams that supported each other, that had that low positive mindset, were the teams that actually ended up going to the playoffs. So what type of culture are you building with yourself? What type of culture are you building with inside your companies or your families or your relationships? And are you taking care of yourself and getting yourself in that low positive state so that you can face the challenges that come your way? Right? I want you to think about that. So Kyle, were there any questions that came up from that little section that we did?
We don't have any questions on that one, but I just want to remind people what we're going to do is post this information onto our website. So we will have a list of the books that they recommend here so that you can easily find them. We would encourage you to head downtown to Book and Game, see if you can get them there locally first. As well as you'll notice in the links on the chat and also on the Facebook comments, you can get to these websites that they've been mentioning. So Majid, intelligentchange.com, as well as David Bayer's Facebook page. So all of that is logged for you. If you've been taking notes, we want to make it easy for you to find those resources. And again, if you do have questions, Facebook comments or in the chat, and we'll make sure we get those answered.
That's terrific. Thank you for that. All right, we're going to kind of go through a couple more things here, and then we'll wrap up. The other one is focus on what, not how. And a lot of times what we'll do is, you know, we think about, you know, our reasons for living. So how many of you think about what's your purpose and what are you here? And then look at what your life list is. So you look at those things, you look at what is it that I want, what is it that I want to do? And what you'll find is your non-conscious will actually create the how. If you ever had an epiphany, I know for myself, my epiphany happens when I'm in my quiet space, whether I'm a musician, if I'm playing drums or I'm out walking in nature, all of a sudden my brain will start to get very creative, and all of a sudden we'll start answering these questions all based around my what. What do I want? And that question that we always ask about is this: how would that person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to do? And so I want to show you real quickly a little bit, a little item here that's based on James Clear. Now, James Clear goes through and he talks about 1% a day. If we can increase 1% a day, and he talks about 4 concepts around his book, Atomic Habits. And there are 4 areas of habit building. And so going back to what Doug said, the first one is you have to notice. I'm going to give you a really simple scenario. We must be conscious of our decisions. So for example, eating an entire bag of chips, that happens unconsciously. You get the bag of chips, next thing you know, you're elbow deep in it and they're almost all gone. So then you need to want something. I need to want something more than I want the chips. So that future healthy person. So maybe I've identified this is who I want to be. Well, the person that my identity is based in is not somebody who eats a whole bag of chips. So I need something bigger than me. Then I have to establish a habit, doing the habit, not grabbing the chips at all. Meaning maybe I take chips out of my house. Maybe I replace chips with an apple, right? And then enjoying the reward. Choosing the habit that takes me in the right direction. 1% win each day compounds on itself. So if I eat a bag of chips, every single week, in 3 months, that's not going to be great for me. But what if I eat an apple every week for 3 months? It's going to be a very different scenario. So I want you to think about right now, are there habits that you have in your life that maybe aren't helping you? And then we're going to give you some areas here to work on. And so let me talk about this. So build productive habits. It starts with noticing. That's number one. Do you notice the habits that are benefiting you? And do you notice the habits that maybe aren't benefiting you? Have you identified these in your life and written them down on a piece of paper? Said pros and cons. Here's the ones that are helping me. Here's the ones that aren't helping me. It starts off with awareness. Then the next one, number two, the quality over quantity. You know, we have some people, they'll say, well, you know what, I want to get healthier, so I'm going to do a 20-day challenge and go on a celery juice cleanse. Okay, can you sustain that? Probably not. And so what happens is after the 20 or 30 days and you get off of it, what happens? You go right back to your old habits. And so my point is, I want to see quality over quantity. And what I mean by that is I want you to see you doing things consistently daily. So for example, I may say, somebody may say to me, well, I want to start running and I want to run a marathon. I said, great. Do you run now? No. Well, then you're not going to run 3 miles a day. Guess what? Could you get up and run a quarter of a mile 3 times a week? I could. Let's see how well you do that for a while. And then up it a little bit. And then up it a little bit. And pretty soon, guess what's going to happen? You're going to run a marathon. But here's the difference. It's going to change your identity. From, I want to run a marathon, to, I'm a marathon runner. Habits need to be based in identity. I want to become healthier versus I'm a healthy person. You see the difference? Because as soon as it becomes your identity, it changes your choices. Because your brain says, wait a second, this isn't what a healthy person does. Wait a second, this isn't what a marathon runner does. Right? So I want you to think about that. We have Jerry Seinfeld up here because he's one of the highest paid comedians in the world. And he said he wasn't always a great comedian, but he wrote a joke every day and he never broke the chain. And some days they were good jokes and some days they were bad jokes, and he just wrote jokes. And he didn't break the chain. And unfortunately, a lot of us break the chain. We'll do something for a while, and we do a lot of starting and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and stopping. What I'm asking you all to do is commit to execution daily that's based in quality, not quantity. All right? And then number 3 is your environment. Is your environment set up for your success? Our habits are shaped by the environments we create. Negative environments create bad habits. So I love Lewis' equation. It says B equals F times P and E. Any behavior is a function of the person in their environment. So for example, if I cannot eat, I love ice cream, it's my favorite thing. If ice cream's around me, I will eat all of it. Doesn't matter how much there is, I just can't stop eating it. So how do I change that environment? Guess what? The ice cream lives at the grocery store. And if I want the ice cream bad enough, I go to the grocery store and buy it. But you will not see me when I'm shopping for groceries, grabbing ice cream, putting it in my shopping cart, saying, well, I'll take it home. And if I want some, I'll go get it. It doesn't work. It's not a healthy environment. So how many of you have looked at your environments and said, hey, you know what? Do I have a healthy environment that's going to allow me to make this habit become consistent? Or are there things, for example, you want to get up early, do not set your phone next to your bed. Because the biggest button that shows up on that phone is the snooze button. That is not a healthy environment. Move it across the room. So you got to get up out of bed. And Doug's laughing because he probably did that. Did you do that, Doug?
No, I know how deep. I know that that's possible, right? Yes.
So the other one, and Doug, you want to talk about this, is your reference group.
Yeah.
That's also an environment. Talk a little bit about that, Doug.
Yeah, the people that we choose to hang with. So think about, what does your reference group look like? These are the people you spend the most of your time with. So this can be personal life, could be professional, colleagues, and ask yourself, does this group lift you up or pull you in, right? Do they fuel your joy or do they destroy your joy, right? Are they inspiration elevators or energy vampires? And we could probably, usually when I say the word energy vampires, people get a smile on their face because we can think of those people that when we spend time with them, when that interaction is over, we feel depleted. We feel a bit worn out, as opposed to people we can hang with that we feel lighter and freer. Just being in their presence lifts us up, right? Now, obviously, in life, you know, we're going to have all of the above, but I think, you know, here's again, who's your reference group? Who are you spending the most time with? And I remember when I first heard this, Larry Kendall, who the course that Michael and I, he authored the course Ninja Selling that Michael and I teach to. And I was hearing him speak live, and he was sharing a study. He said, you will become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They had done studies. So your income, think about this, right? You know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but more often than not, it's true. Your income will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The level of your positivity will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so think about that, and kind of that idea that, you know, if I want to become a better leader, I love to find people who are better at leading than me, right? And I want to spend some time with them. When I want to get in better shape, I want to find some people who are in better shape than me, and I want to hang out with them. Now, you know, you spend some time with someone who's in really great shape, and may be a bit annoying at times, right? But if I hang out with them long enough, it may have a positive impact, and very often it does, right? So just think about who you're spending the most time with, because it has a big impact on the person that you're becoming.
Yep, I agree. And you might ask why we have Dungeness crab here. I know when I was young, we'd go catch crab, and my dad would put them in a bucket, and I'd see one trying to crawl out, and my dad would say, I'd say, Dad, it's going to get out. He goes, no, we'll watch what happens. And if you've ever been out crabbing, you'll know that if you've got more than one crab in a bucket, one tries to crawl out, the other will grab it and pull it back down. So my question to all of you is, if you look at your reference group, do you have a group of people that lift you up, as Doug said, or do you have a group of people that pull you down? And sometimes you've got to be very aware of who you're choosing to take up space in your mind and take up space in your life. Very, very important. Number 4 is simplify. This is pretty straightforward. Jack Welch said, hey, you know what? He would say to his workers, I want you to write down 25 priorities and circle the 5 most important ones. 6 through 25 are ones you are never going to achieve. 1 through 5 is your greatness. You know, how many of you have boiled it down to the key things that, you know, you all have a gift? Are you bringing that gift to the world? And if you have other things that are distracting you, get them out of your mind and focus on the critical items. Get simple. You know, what are your priorities? In the 1400s, there was no such word. The only word was priority, meaning one, right? One priority. And then the 5th one is be system-oriented and practice. Right? Effective results happen when you run consistent, effective systems. Think about some of the most detailed types of jobs out there. Think about a pilot. They have a post-flight and a pre-flight checklist. Think about the detail of flying a plane. Think about the detail of being a surgeon. You know what? They have systems and processes, so they have predictable results. So I can hand something to you. It has predictable results. It works in any market. It does not matter what your personality is. It's a system. It's goal-focused. Right? So things like time blocking, business planning, repeatable routines. Have you set that up? I love it. This comes out of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Remember, you must standardize before you optimize. So are you running in a world being proactive and having systems and standards? Or are you running in a world where you're accidental and reactionary and you're doing it differently every single time? Think about those things. And there's so many great books and resources out there. I know Kyle's putting links to it, but guys, there's so much information that can help us in this world. Because here's what I'll tell you. We're going to wrap up with this. Difficult times disrupt your conventional ways of thinking and push you to forge better habits of thought, performance, and being, but it's based on how you choose to see the world. And sometimes it's not what we say we will do, but it's what we say we won't do. So I'm going to play you this last video and wrap up, and then open it up if you have any other questions. But this is by Trevor Mowat. Trevor Mowat unfortunately passed away this year, but he wrote the book, It Takes What It Takes, and he also wrote the book, Getting to Neutral. And he's a mindset coach. You might know Russell Wilson, the former Seahawks quarterback, now the Denver Bronco quarterback. I know, Doug, you're upset about that.
Very upset.
But I wanted you to listen to what he says, and I'm going to play this video for you. Here you go.
So Billy Buckner, who just passed away recently, was an incredible 8-time Gold Glove, great baseball player for the Boston Red Sox. But he made a mistake in sports that would be one of the biggest sport bloopers in history. In 1986, he let the game-winning run score on a ground ball through his legs that ultimately would give the Mets the World Series. Now, I was just watching an ESPN E60 Jeremy Shafton story, and I saw an interview that was done in 1990 that resurfaced in 1995, where Buckner was interviewed 12 days before the World Series. And you know, dreams are to win. You know, to win the World Series, the nightmare would be for you to let the game-winning run score on a ground ball through my legs. You know, and then ultimately that's exactly what would happen. Now, by saying that out loud, what he do, he didn't make it happen, but he increased the probability. We started to study. What we learned was that negative thinking was the most powerful element that our players were combating. That negative thinking was weaponizing them against them. So how's negativity carried? Or is it your internal thoughts? Well, if you're dealing with trying to change internal thoughts, then you got to go to affirmations, you got to go to imagery, very difficult skills. But we started to look at externalization. Well, if somebody says something out loud, it's 10 times more powerful than if they're thinking. And then as we started to study the data, particularly data that was just reinforced by Christopher Korak from Georgetown and Harvard, that negativity is a multiple of 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive. So think about that. If I say something out loud, it's 10x. If it's negative, it's 4 to 7 times more powerful. So when I say negative things out loud, it's 40 to 70 times more likely that that will happen or cause a result that won't be good for me than if I just didn't say anything. The stories in and around negativity are incredible. So Pistol Pete Maravich, a basketball player, I'll give you 2 other examples, but he was interviewed at 26 years old. He said, I don't want to play 10 years of pro basketball and die before he had a heart attack. Well, he played 10 years of pro basketball in Pasadena, California, died of a heart attack at 40. There's another great story that I saw from a magazine called Success Unlimited in 1973. The guy's hired to fix a refrigerated boxcar in back of the train. He goes into the train, he panics, he gets himself locked inside the boxcar. Now he's counting on the doors to come. He starts to panic, he thinks he's going to finds a pen, he starts writing down what's going through his mind. He writes down, I'm becoming colder. As people, one of the things we do ourselves is observe and report. I'm not playing well. I'm having a bad day. We're having a bad quarter. My marriage isn't going well. We observe and report. It's still colder now. He writes, nothing to do but wait. Half asleep, I can hardly write. Finally, he says, these may be my last words. And I'll show you the article. You open up the boxcar many hours later and find him dead. But the temperature inside the boxcar was 56 degrees. The freezing apparatus was broken. There was plenty of air in the boxcar. There was no physical reason for his death. The best they could say is somehow he talked himself into dying. The book covers psychogenic death in and around the Korean War. When the Korean War, 1/3 of all American POWs died, and they said that one of the things that was done in the POW camps was the negativity. They manufactured articles about the United States bomb. They withheld all positivity. They didn't give them mail. Believe it or not, there are regulations for POW camps throughout the world. And ultimately, they filled up these healthy American soldiers with all this doubt. Police would end up calling it give up IBIS. And healthy American soldiers, over a period of days, would walk over to the corner, sit down, and die of broken hearts. So A, your language is powerful, but number 2, your behavior is way ahead of your success. And when I feel like I can control my behavior, when I feel like I can control, even if I'm going through a difficult challenge, even if I'm going through a reorg in a business, if I still feel like, okay, this is not optimal, but there's something I can do, then I'm helpful to myself. And when I'm helpful, I'm hopeful. When I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. But my dad's belief always was to make hope happen. And that hope is the most powerful medicine that we all have. And I think we have to believe that influence our future. And so, what are the things that are in our control? What we watch when we get home, what we listen to when we're in our car, what we talk to when we get on our cell phone, and what we say out loud always does. And I think that those are powerful things. And ultimately, our behavior. But so many people think the self-help industry is about change. I think one of the things that makes athletes so incredible is what they're willing not to do, what they're willing not to say, what they're willing not to eat, what they're willing not to consume, what they're willing not to watch. That's what makes it. Think about it's January 2020. What are 5 things you could not do right now that will instantly make your life better?
So I want to end with that. Here's the great news from our talk today that I think that all of you should think about. There's one thing that can help you get exactly where you want to go. And it starts with you, right? We can't make a new beginning. You can't go back and change your past. Your past is not predictive of your future, but you have 100% control over your ending. So decide what you want and what you won't do, and execute on the activities that take you towards what you want in your life. That was the purpose of our talk today. Hopefully you found it helpful, and we'll open it up, Kyle, if there's any questions that anybody had moving forward on that.
So I think.
Michael, while I'm looking, I know little things done consistently over time lead to stunning results, right? So hopefully something that you saw today, put it in place, give it a try.
Yeah, and there was a lot of great tips, a lot of great information, things that, you can put into practice right away personally or implement in your business. If you serve with a church or a nonprofit in the community. One question that we got in from Madison says, how do I focus on myself if I have other people depending on me? Kind of this idea that we talked a lot about changing ourselves, but if you have a family or coworkers or someone depending on you, how can you implement these changes if it might affect someone else?
So here's what I would say is that the changes we talked about, things to do, I always have a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. And in taking care of yourself, you're going to enhance your ability to take care of others. And the other thing that happens when you run these exercises and you do things we talked about, people start noticing a different you. And you actually start showing up in a way that's actually going to benefit them and their mindset and what they do. We cannot change anybody else. We can only change ourselves. And what you'll find is when you take care of yourself, you have the ability to leave others better than you found them. And so you have to commit to what it is. Maybe it's small baby steps to start with, and then it gets bigger and it gets more. But pick out those few little things you can start doing today when you can carve out time for yourself and work on yourself. And Doug says it's right. Your success can never go higher than your own self-worth.
Yeah, well, Michael, I was going to say that really reminded me of when my girls were still at home. And one of the things that helped me be a better dad was to get up just, at that point, 15 minutes earlier so that I could have a little time alone. And by writing in my gratitude journal and doing some things like, for example, the morning routine, helped me be a better dad. So one of the best ways to help the people that you care for, that you lead in your business, that you care for in your family at home, one of the best things I can do is when I take care of myself, it helps me take great care of them.
Yep.
And so it put me in a better mindset to be a better dad. So that's kind of what we're talking about is filling yourself so that you can fill others. Yep.
I love it. That's really powerful. Taking care of yourself, improving yourself, and then improving those around you. Kind of like when you go on a flight and they tell you to put your mask on first and then help the person.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You can't help anybody else if you're passed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, when Kyle, Robin Sharma will talk about how if you want to change your outer world, if you want to make an impact in those around you in your outer world, it starts by improving, growing in your inner world. So when you strengthen those interior empires, those things we talk about, your mindset, your heart set, those kinds of things, then you can truly impact in a more powerful way your outer world. So it starts within. And that's a lot of the things that we talked about today. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Really great content. Again, we want to remind people, because there was so much here, you might need to watch this multiple times, as you're trying to implement things, and then come back, remind yourself of what those next steps might be. Thank you again so much to our sponsors for making this content free and available to everyone. Again, they are the Blue Zones Project, the City of College Place, the Port of Walla Walla, and the City of Walla Walla. So again, a huge thank you to them, and really a huge thank you to Doug and Michael. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your knowledge with us.
Hey, our pleasure. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, we will be back next week. We have 2 more sessions, again, following the theme of personal and leadership development. So we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
y'all, it's Tammy with Colored Valley Cooks, and I am going to do the ABCs of cooking with a chicken. But first, we are going to make some candy because I've got some vanilla bark on my chopping board, and I didn't want to pick it up. That's not my way. I didn't want to pick it up and take it off the board and clean it up until I finished making the candy that I started yesterday. I made some peanut clusters, and oh my gosh, I just love them. I was in the house, I was hungry for candy, and I didn't have any. And so I thought, you know what? I got plenty of vanilla bark. I got plenty of Spanish peanuts. That is my favorite thing ever, besides white chocolate with them. So I decided to make some candy. Anyway, we're going to do the rest of this bark with almonds. And then we are going to heat up some chili in the microwave because we're making a baked potato in the air fryer for my lunch. And then I'm going to show you how to cut up the chicken. So we're doing quite a few things today. And you're going to hear the microwave going while we're working. This was in my freezer. Whenever I make chili, I always take a container and I freeze some smaller portions of chili to use on a baked potato or to use with hot dogs. So I'm going to use this and make me a baked potato, and Chris can have it on a hot dog when he comes in from fishing. So I'll show it to you up close, and then we're just going to put it in the, see, it's the shape of the lid because it expanded, but that's chili, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to put this in the microwave. But first, I'm going to get out my baked potato that I have in here. Now, I took this potato. I'm going to put it right here on the counter for now. And we're going to put this in there. And I'll defrost it first. So let's reset it off. Let me put more minutes on it, y'all. Defrost. Okay, that's more like it, 4 minutes. Now, what I did with my baked potato is I put it in the microwave for 3 minutes per side. And now I'm going to dress it up and put it in my air fryer. If you're like me, you love the skin on the potato. So I wash it, okay? I scrub it with my little large brush I showed you guys. And then I put it in the microwave. And because I like the baked potato to have a good skin on it, now we're going to get it ready for that. And I'm going to use my air fryer and roast it the rest of the way to make the skin really good. So we are going to come over here close up. And I'll show you what I'm going to do. This is for my chicken laying over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of butter, and I just happen to have some on the table. And I'm going to put it on this skin all the way around it. Coat it good. Okay. Now I've got to rinse off my hands.